This
Well,
conference
good
will
morning,
now be
everybody.
recorded.
We're going to go ahead and get started. I'm sure there'll be more people coming, but while we're waiting for some of the other people to join, I'm going to start in with a few announcements that aren't exactly related to today's presentation, but are things that are important that you need to know about. First of all, we have a brand new Google ad campaign, which is very significant. We've been running these Google ad campaigns for a number of months now, and we're buying Google AdWords. And what we've done is we've standardized on for this next phase on all the hottest Google AdWords, which are the ones that generate the most clicks. But then when people come to the website, they don't bounce. So you'll be seeing more on these ads, but this is going to drive a lot of information to our website. We also have a new blog that we've just posted. This will be on our website. It'll also be on LinkedIn. And basically, it's about commercial lighting, and it's called a pillar blog because it refers back to some of the other blogs that we have already done. So this is a new thing we're trying once again to bring more traffic to our website. You may have also seen, and you will see, a new application guide called the Quick Reference Guide, Spec Guide at Your Fingertips, which is what people will see. This is the landing page when they come from a Google ad. We've got some handy tips here: HID to LED, IP plus IK ratings, IES foot candle recommendations, and the wind speed map. And we expect a lot of people to download this, keep this on their desktop. These are really handy, and I think this is a cool little thing that we've got going here. Also, by the way, don't forget to like us and share us on LinkedIn. We've got a lot of content there, and we really need your help to get the word out. So we also have a new email blast that hopefully you saw. It's about now in stock, some of the products, the new products that we've introduced over the last period that haven't exactly started to move very quickly, like exit signs, stairwell fixtures, the barn light, a security light. So these are all in this email blast. You should have received it. If you didn't, please send me a note and we'll get it to you. And once again, we'd like you to forward those all to your clients. Additionally, we had a final scrubbing of the buyer's guide, which we sent the link out to everybody, and it's down at the printer, but we did have some additional changes to the buyer's guide. So it's important that when you see the new link to download the buyer's guide, we'll send it out to everybody. Please delete the old one and use this one. So that'll be coming right after. Also, we're not making a formal announcement today, but there is going to be a very probable price increase. Our costs continue to go up, not only on a material basis, but on a logistics basis. Our freight expenses have nearly doubled, and it's very significant, and we're not alone. So keep on the lookout for that. We'll probably be announcing a price increase fairly soon. And finally, I just want to talk about this whole series of the Bluetooth mesh control series. Okay, so we started off, this is the fourth and final installment, okay? So on 324, we gave a product line overview. Then on 4.8, we did application planning. On 4.15, we did additional project planning. And now finally today, we're gonna go over commissioning. Now, what does this mean for you? Are we expecting you to get into the weeds and really, do this all the time? Not necessarily, right? If you have somebody at the agency who is the controls person, they will want to know all the details, etc. But we're here to tell you that we have staff. Carlos is available to do the layouts, to help. We will help you lay it out. We'll help you do all of this. But what's important as a salesperson is that you understand from high level what's going on, how it works, the questions to ask, so that when we get the information, we give you a good finished product. And so, yeah, you may not actually do the layouts or commission the job yourself, that may be an installer, but it's important that you understand the various aspects. So all these are saved, and I will go ahead and email those links again, along with today's commissioning, all as a package, which you can look at your own, on your own time. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and mute everybody.
Dave, you've muted yourself as well.
Got to find Rich here.
Can you hear me?
I can. Okay, Rich, you are the presenter.
Okay, bear with me a minute. Let's set up my screen. Okay, Dave, can you see my screen?
I can.
Okay, thank you everyone. We're going to start out the training, TrueBlue training with commissioning. So the overview for this training, number one, we'll talk about a checklist before on-site commissioning starts. And when we get into the commissioning, we're going to talk about how to add devices, test them, establish scenes, establish in-ocean devices if any are going to be used, and also calibrating daylight sensors if they're going to be in on the job as well. So the first thing, with all the trainings that we've done in the past, you've already, when you're about to commission the job, you're actually going to be on site. So before that, you need to make sure of the following: that number one, that internet access is available on site. That can be done through the facility's Wi-Fi system, or it can be done over your phone. If you have like 5G connecting, anything like that, you can do it over your phone. You've already gone into the software on your computer and you created the project. You have invited collaborators to join in on the project. So that would be the manager or the installer. It's important, obviously, to have someone as a role of installer because they're the one that's going to be doing the commissioning. You've uploaded your floor plan. You've created areas and named them. You've created zones and named them. And you've also defined the profiles within each zone about how they will be controlled. And we'll talk about a couple of examples as we go through this training. So in other words, you've already done all of this work and now you're going to the job site. So really what we're talking about, if you look at the bottom of the screen, all the devices have been installed and powered up in the facility. You've already used the web portal to to establish the project. That project is now sitting on the cloud, the TrueBlue system cloud. So it's there, it's saved, and it's ready to go. So when you go to the job site with your phone, you fire up your phone, you're automatically going to find the project from the cloud, and you will establish a link, and now you will be programming to and from the cloud. Now, eventually, you might put a gateway in the system. It is not required, and we're not going to talk about it in this particular training. But if you wanted to have advanced features like scheduling or monitoring, you can put a gateway in there, and it would also be a part of the system. But for purposes of this, we're going to keep it simple to the devices that we've already talked about. All right, so getting started again, internet access has to be established for the entire duration of the commissioning process. You're on site. It is important that you be within radio range of the devices to be commissioned. So let's say you're going into Steve's office. You need to be within about 45 feet of the device in order to have a node listen and communicate to your phone. So in an office setting, that's not going to be too difficult. Where you need to think about this is if you're like commissioning a parking lot and you have devices that might be 60 feet in the air because it's attached to an area light. There is a product that you can get that has a very strong antenna that will enable you to reach those distances. But in general, just think that you have to be within about 45 feet of a device in order to be able to commission the system. Now, in the app, you're going to log in. Once you log in, you can see over here, you're going to see a list of all the projects that you have going on. So all you need to do is select the project that you're interested in, and then you're going to go into the project area and zone. And when you're in a zone, then you're going to commission it. So I'll run a little example here. We found the project that we're looking for. We found the zone that we're looking for, and now we are in that zone. So if you look at the top of this screen right here, you can see that we're in the zone called Stephen's office. All right, now, next, when you're in a zone, you tap the blue circle with the plus at the bottom of the screen that you can see right there. All right, all powered, uncommissioned devices within range will show up. Now, it's important, all powered devices. So your fixtures have to be installed and they have to be powered up and ready to go, or the radio won't be on and they won't be able to be seen by this. So all we then have to do is identify a device and hit the add button. And this little video will show you what I'm talking about here. So we go in, we find 4 items that are in Stephen's office, and we add them into the system. You can add, in this app, you have 5 devices going at a time, and you can see the 5 circles at the top, and you can tell when each one is being linked and commissioned into the system. Now, at the bottom of the screen, you see the slide bar where it says near and it says all. This basically is the signal strength that you're using to find the devices in the zone that you're looking for. So it may be a situation where if you are using all the way to the right where it says all, instead of picking up the 4 devices in Stephen's office, the signal might be so strong that you pick up 3 other devices in the hallway or 2 other devices in the next office over. So you can slide that a little bit to the left, and it will narrow the signal strength to only pick up the devices that are truly in the zone that you're looking for. So it's a very handy tool to make identifying the devices that you're looking for appropriate for the scene that you're in. Okay. So next, you can add multiple devices in the same screen. Now, you're probably wondering, how do I identify these devices? These names, at this point, these names really don't mean anything, right? It just says True Blue Controller Dongle Demo 7881. That doesn't really mean anything to you. So is that in the office or is that in the hallway? So the way that we do this is when the device is being commissioned, the controller itself will blink. So you'll be able to get a visual notification that, yep, that device is one of the panels that's in the ceiling. I see it blinking. Now I know that it is appropriate to put in the zone. The same with a sensor. If you have a sensor in the room, the sensor will blink and you'll be able to notify that the sensor is indeed appropriate for the room. And with a switch, if you're using one of the switches, there's a light in the switch that will blink as well. So you're getting visual cues about the right products that are in the zone that you're working with, so you're not making any mistakes. Okay, so if you look at where I'm circling right here, Stephen's office, we're now in devices, and you can see that these 4 devices have been located. Now what we're doing now is we're going to the drop down of this 3rd one right here. We hit that drop down and you see these 3 items and a little bit more information that's going on. So you're seeing a static proxy, you're seeing a relay, you're seeing an ocean. You also see that you can remove this device. Let's say that, yep, you found out you made a mistake. This device doesn't belong in Stephen's office. You just simply hit remove and it's gone. You also have monitoring and diagnostic capability, and we'll talk about that as we go forward. If you look at the second screen, you see that you have the ability now to edit the name of the device. So now you can say Stephen's flat panel number 1, flat panel number 2, flat panel number 3, or whatever you want to call them. Now you can give them a name, and that will be saved in the commissioning process. So you can easily determine what device is in each room that you're commissioning. Now, you can also, the third frame over here shows you that you can also get into diagnostic mode. So in diagnostic mode, let's say you're running into a problem, you're commissioning the system, and for some reason you just can't get this one to work. You can go into this diagnostic, you can then give us a phone call and give us the information, and we'll be able to help you debug the issue. So there's a lot of information that is in this part, but it's actually very easy to work with. Typically, the items that you're really going to be looking for are going to be relay and in ocean, and we'll talk about that as well. Sorry about that. Okay. So we now are moving from devices, and now we're going into settings. So again, here's that device screen that we showed you a minute ago. And if you look at the top, you can see it says devices, settings, and test. So now we're going to click settings, and we go to the second screen right here. This screen now brings up, I'm sorry. Sorry. There you go. This screen now brings up the profiles that you have already programmed into the system, right? So you've already done all of that work before the commissioning process began. So now you go into the settings and you see, yep, profile number 2, which is an open office occupancy setting with daylight sensor. So you've already told us how it is going to operate within the settings mode. So it's already set up. You don't have to do anything unless you decide to customize the settings. Let's say you've set it all up. This is Stephen's office. Stephen says, oh my goodness, these lights are too bright. I really need you to go from 80% to 50%. You can go into the customize button and set them to exactly what you want them to be. But in general, I think most of the time you've already set up your profile and you're going to leave it alone because you've already told it what to do, and you want it to be the same for everyone. But again, you can customize if you want to. This also gives you a chance to set up 2 scenes if you want. This is optional. It is not required. And that means that you're going to have a wall switch that has the capability of being tapped to choose the scene A or scene B. So if you do have that option set up where you do have the wall switch, maybe it's the 2 panel option where you've got on off, and then you have scene A, scene B, you can now go in and configure exactly what you want these scenes to be. Additionally, if you have daylight harvesting, you can now go in and calibrate that daylight harvesting sensor, and we'll cover that in a little bit more detail later on. And then lastly, at the top, you see it has test. So now we hit the test button, and we move to the third screen. And this is where you can make sure that you have done what you need to do in Steve's office. So if you look at all luminaires, you can click on, off, and you'll obviously be able to physically see them go on and off. You can also set light levels by the slider right here, dim it to where you want. And if you want to, you can do individual fixtures if you want to. But for me, if all I'm trying to do is validate that this is working, I'm going to stay on all luminaires. I'm going to do on off. And then when I'm finished testing it, I'm going to click auto, because then it's going to go back and it's going to do the profile that you set up. and that's the way the system will work. So again, it's very simple and straightforward on how you're working with this. Now, I want you to remember this screen right here, where it says relay, it says proxy, relay, and InOcean, and I'll be talking about those in just a few minutes. So here's the relay node. Okay, why would we hit the relay button right here? Typically, you're not going to have to. The relay is simply telling a device that you're going to be responsible for communicating to the next node in the system, therefore setting up the Bluetooth mesh itself. Now, what happens with the system is automatically going to set up 10% of the nodes as relays automatically by itself. And typically, especially in a dense application, you'll never have to hit that relay button at all. It will work just fine. The system will communicate. All the nodes have been set up properly. You don't have to do a thing. There are occasions where you might have to tell a device that has not been automatically selected to say you're going to be a relay, and that you would hit this button right here and turn it on, and it's now acting as a relay. Now, an example of why you would do that, let's go back to the parking lot idea. And let's say, out of all the fixtures that you're commissioning, only a couple of the area lights have been set up as relays. So the far area light on the right side of the parking lot may be a relay, and then the other side of the parking lot, there may be another relay, but they can't communicate to each other because the distance is simply too far. So now you can go and set up another area light to be a relay, and maybe you have to set up another area light to be a relay to make sure that you've got a complete mesh. And that's where this comes in to be very important. But again, under normal circumstances, especially for indoor, you'll probably never have to touch this. But if you need to, then this is where you find it, and this is how you do it. It's actually quite simple to do. Okay. Now, it's also important to understand that relays work only in the area that they are located. They do not jump from area to area. So you may, like if you have two parking lots, you may have to set up relays in each of those areas. So it's important to keep that information as well. Now, commissioning proxy, I left the slide in here only to remind myself to tell you that you don't need to worry about this anymore. Basically what this is if you look where it says static proxy right here, in the old days, you would click this and it would mean that this device is going to be talking to your phone and listening and understanding how you're commissioning it. In the old days, you would have to turn this on. Now you don't, it's automatic. So forget about this altogether. The proxy is automatic, and you don't have to really worry about it. Now, we talked about customizing and creating scenes. So when you go into the scene, you can see this window right here. For all luminaires, you can set the percentage that you want it to, or you can set up each device individually and create your own scene. So this is scene A, it'll save automatically, click the button, it saves, go to scene B, do the same thing, and you created a very simple scene architecture within the profile that you want to use for the room. So it makes it very simple to use. Now, if you're using an InOcean switch, remember I showed you a few slides back right here where it says InOcean. So if there is going to be an InOcean switch in the room, it is important that you tell one fixture, preferably the one closest to the InOcean switch, that you click this button and turn it on, because InOcean does not speak Bluetooth mesh. It only speaks simple Bluetooth. So you have to tell one fixture to listen to the InOcean switch, and then that fixture will then propagate the signal to do what the switch is telling it to do. So again, if you have an InOcean switch in the room, one fixture has to be enabled for InOcean in order to hear the switch and tell it what to do. So that's important to remember and understand. Now, when you do that, InOcean actually has a 2-button switch or a 4-button switch. I'm showing the 4-button switch to the right here. So you can do a simple on-off with numbers 1 and 2, or you can do scenes A and B with numbers 4 and 3. Now, this is the way this works. Again, you have a 1-button switch here and a 2-button switch to the right. When you press the top part of the button on the left here, that will turn it on, and if you hold it, it will raise the light level. At the bottom, that will be the off switch, or you can hold it and that will dim the light level down. The same thing for the 2-button switch. The left button on the 2-button switch basically is the on-off that I just showed you. The right button is where you have your scene A at the top and scene B at the bottom. Now, when we have color tuning fixtures available, these buttons will also be able to address the color tuning. So if you hold it to the top, it will get a cooler light level. If you touch the bottom and hold it, it will get warmer. So there's a lot of capability here just with the switch itself. Okay, so here we go. You tap the InOcean. Now what we have to do is we have to actually, it doesn't have, if you remember the other devices I showed you, it had like a model name and it had a number associated to it. The InOcean switch, because it's not Bluetooth mesh, doesn't have that. So here's what's happening. I think this is really cool. When you enable the InOcean switch right here, your phone camera will want to come on. So you click OK. And on the back of the switch, you'll have a QR code. And your phone will obviously identify the QR code, and that will give the system all the information it needs to add the InOcean switch into the commissioning profile. So pretty slick, I think. Okay, let's talk about daylight harvesting and commissioning that part of this, because this can be, this is probably one of the most important parts to really think about. We've all dealt with daylight sensors before, right? Now we're talking about them being part of the Bluetooth mesh network. So we have to remember that when we're talking about daylight harvesting, there are 3 types of light that we have to take in consideration. One is direct light coming through the window, hitting the sensor directly. The other is reflected daylight that'll come in the window, bounce off the floor, come back to the sensor. And then, of course, there's light that's coming from the luminaire itself, down to the floor or off a surface, reflecting back to the sensor. So we have to keep that in mind as we're going through the commissioning process. Now, you remember that I showed you on the screen that there is a calibration required for the profile of the daylight harvesting. The calibration is done by providing a lux level. Now, this is where the installer is going to have a light meter. And you're also going to have to really think about where you're going to place the sensor. Directly above the surface where you want to maintain the desired lux level, appropriate distance from the window and a luminaire, not above a highly reflected surface. The sensor view should not be obstructed. And again, we have to have at least 1 sensor per zone if daylight harvesting is required. So these are just things that you have to keep in mind as you go through the commissioning and calibration of the sensor. Some tips here, all right? The calibration should be done after all the furniture, the interior finishes, all the materials are installed, the way the building is going to be occupied, right? If you're doing this when the building is still under construction, you're going to get wrong readings because the surfaces would be much different when the building is finished. So you've got to make sure that the building is ready to go before you consider calibration. The calibration adjustments should be made at a distance from the sensor and the light meter. You know, step away because your body will interfere with the readings of the light meter. You should calibrate under normal daylight conditions. Make sure all the lights are switched off so you're really just getting what's coming in from the sun. Do not perform the calibration in the dark. This needs to be done during the day There is a minimum lux level that is set, and it's at 225 lux. So obviously, if it's dark, you'll never get to that level, and you won't be able to commission this at all. So make sure the windows and skylights are uncovered and clean so you can get the best readings that you can get. So I'll just show you this little dude right here. So we're going to go in and we select that. We type in the lux level that we got off our meter. We hit calibrate, and it will go through a process of programming itself. So during the commissioning of this daylight harvesting sensor, the lights will go through 2 on-off cycles. So you'll be able to see that, yes, indeed, this is communicating, it's working, it's being programmed correctly, and everything is good. Okay. That's really it in a nutshell. It really is this simple, folks. Again, we know that not everybody will want to do this, or maybe it'll be a period of time between commissioning, and you might forget some things. We are here to help you, but I hope that you see that this system is actually very intuitive. It's quite simple to do. Frankly, most of the work is going to be done before you're on the job site doing the commissioning by setting up your project and getting the programming and all that done. But the commissioning is quite simple. I showed you one example of Stephen's office as a zone. Obviously, what you're going to do is you're going to walk around the job site, going from area to area, zone to zone. You've got your trusty phone with you. You're doing this very simple to do, and I think that you'll find that most of the projects you're going to work on will require limited running around and commissioning, right? It's only when you get into multi-story buildings or outdoor projects where this is really going to take up a big portion of your time. But I think for most projects, this will be a very simple and quick commissioning process. So,
all right. Rich, you did a great job. If we have any questions, we will certainly get back.
I've got a question.
Sure.
Are you going to be able to provide AutoCAD drawings for wiring of the system for engineers to put on their plans?
You want to take that, or you want me to try? Well, the way this works is, first of all, you have to upload a JPEG into the TrueBlue software. So, as far as an engineer or somebody, they're generating a CAD drawing, they would save it, that drawing or reflected ceiling plan, as a PDF, and then we can take that PDF and then convert it to a JPEG. Or if you have, we can use Paint if you're familiar with that application, or we can, if you have Adobe Acrobat Pro, you can save it as a JPEG. But in order to get the information up into the TrueBlue web portal, it needs to be at this time a JPEG, and then we'll go ahead and lay out the job that way.
Well, the only concern I have is, if these engineers are going to design around this this system, there has to be some AutoCAD drawings that they can use to insert into their plans, so contractors will know how to install this. Typically, any lighting control system has AutoCAD drawings that they put on their plans. And that's a concern, that if they're going to be specifying this alone without calling us every time they have a job, it would be important to have those AutoCAD drawings for them to install into their plans.
Okay, it's Dwayne talking, right?
Yes.
Okay, let us circle back with you afterward and see if we can, figure out what you need. But that's a great question. But right now, they would have to take their plans, convert it to a PDF, put it in as a JPEG, and then lay out the job. But we would be happy to help them do that and then communicate with the engineer as well.
Well, again, it's just your standard relay, and I don't know if they want to do that every time they do a job. That, you know, there's got to be a simpler way to do it for them, to just put the drawings or a simple one-line diagram on their plans is what I'm asking. And most engineers do have those with lighting, wired lighting controls now, whether it be, you know, Leviton or Lutron or you know, Green Gate or whoever. They have AutoCAD drawings. So just to bring that to your
Thank you very much.
to your
And we
mind.
will circle back with you on that for sure, Dwayne.
Okay, that would be great. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So yeah, if there's any other questions, but just to remember some of the things that I talked about when we got started today. We do have an aggressive new Google ad campaign. It's actually 3 individual ads. We're really focused on the AdWords that generate the most pop. And we have a new blog. It's going to be on our website and on LinkedIn. So please like us and share us. You're going to get a new link for the latest changes in the buyer's guide. When you get that link, download it, save it on your desktop, whatever, delete the other one because there was a few changes. And once again, just to sum up, you know, we've spent a lot of time on this controls piece. And so we've been at it for quite a while. The most important thing for salespeople, if you're not highly technical or not a controls person, it's just important that you have a basic understanding of how the system works so that you can explain it to clients, get us involved, ask the right questions, you know, and we will be there to help you. So I want to thank everyone for joining in today. You know, this has been a great series that we put together, and I will make all the links for all 4 modules available in one final download, and you can review it at your convenience. But I guess that's it for today. Thank you again for coming. Have a good day.
Thank you.
All right.